Colorado's county-by-county fire restrictions means that places seeing the same drought conditions and danger have very different rules to prevent fires. Our state's new tool to fight wildfires got put to use the day after we got it. Downtown workers are not coming back to the heart of the city as expected. Visitors and tourists are back, and the city knows which are which because they track us all. And everything that we have learned about the shooting 1 week ago in Arvada suggests this situation defies the simple stereotypes we often apply to who acts and why. Next. Colorado's wildfires don't stop at county lines, yet our fire restrictions do. With the Pacific Northwest in brutal heat and in western Colorado in devastating drought, we're bracing for what could be a terrible summer of fires after last year's worst on record. It's worth remembering then who it is that wields enormous power in these situations. County sheriffs. Here's Mark Salinger.
We try to make sure that we're all on the same page going into restrictions.
Using a series of graphs and charts and conversations with people far smarter than myself.
This is the raw data that
Seth McKinney advises the Boulder County Sheriff when it's time to impose fire restrictions in the area.
State law says that the elected county sheriff is the fire warden for all unincorporated parts of the county.
As the fire management officer at the sheriff's office, his recommendation has the power to ban everything from campfires to fireworks, but only in unincorporated Boulder County on land not owned by the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, or any independent municipality. They make their own restrictions.
A lot of the restrictions that are being put in place across the Front Range were done as a group.
The goal is for counties in similar situations to impose similar restrictions. Look at Clear Creek, Boulder, and Larimer counties, all imposing Stage 1 restrictions this week. That was done on purpose.
Since it's the Front Range, we're trying to be consistent.
Rick Albers is the sheriff in Clear Creek County, working with other agencies to talk about when and how to impose restrictions. Still, right down the road in Jefferson County, there aren't any restrictions in place.
People that come up here need to check with each county that they're going to go in and see what level they're in.
In Colorado, the sheriff is the fire warden.
Grand County went into more strict Stage 2 restrictions last week, along with other counties like Summit County. Sheriff Brett SCHROETLIN had to get approval from the Board of Commissioners first.
We don't allow any fires in unincorporated Grand County that cannot be controlled by some type of on-off device.
Stopping wildfires, one illegal fire at a time.
We want to educate people. That's the important part. But sometimes getting a ticket is the best education you can get.
Each county sheriff also has the power to decide what each stage of a fire ban means. In most cases, they're all pretty similar, but some are different. For example, Kyle, in some cases, some counties outlaw firing a firearm in some stage of fire restrictions, where in others, it's totally legal.
The county-by-county mindset and differences in opinion is very similar to what we saw during COVID.
Exactly, where you could go to one restaurant and have to wear a mask and then go over the county line and not have to wear a mask. But in that situation, the governor also had the power to enact statewide COVID restrictions. And that's the same here with fire restrictions. Governor Polis, under the state constitution, has the power to enact statewide fire bans if he feels the need.
If we get to that point, and let's hope that we don't. Mark Salinger, who's reported remotely for a year plus from many wonderful locations, welcome back to the News
We're
Palace,
back.
Mark.
It's good to be
We're
back. It's good to be back.
Thank you, sir. One of Colorado's most important aerial firefighting tools is not ours to keep. The state is leasing a specialized helicopter for the summer until the one that Colorado is purchasing is ready for our use. We are curious if this thing had seen action yet, and indeed it has been quite busy since being put into rotation. Type 1 helicopter, you'll hear us reference from time to time on a fire. This is a Type 1 that began working for the state June 14th. It was used on the Column fire the very next day. The Department of Fire Prevention and Control tells us they have already been getting their money's worth out of this helicopter on the multiple fires burning in northwest Colorado. The lease is 120 days and exclusive to Colorado, so it will be only working here. No chance it'll be sent to other states while it's under contract with us. Do not let the Front Range cool weather and rain lately fool you. Western Colorado is still deeply in drought, and the divide is roughly the divide. Eastern Colorado, drought conditions have been eliminated. West of the divide, you got 13 counties under exceptional drought conditions. Another 6 are classified as being in extreme drought. Months into the vaccination process, downtown Denver's workers are not coming back to their offices as the city had hoped. It's visitors, especially for Rockies games, that are returning people to the streets that were a ghost town during the pandemic. Downtown's business group knows just who is coming and going because they're tracking us. Here's Steve Steger.
We see on any given Rockies day that people aren't just coming down for the game, they're also coming downtown for the entire experience.
If you build it, Lodo Bros will come. And not just to go inside that big building at 20th and Blake, because back on the first opening day this year, while the stadium could only hold about 20,000 fans,
we had 130,000 extra visitors downtown that Thursday that were just there to be a part of it.
now I'm no math expert, but that's 110,000 more people visiting downtown back on April 1st than could actually fit inside the stadium at the time. Simply downtown for the experience. How did they know that?
Our interactive kiosks that you see along the mall, they're able to ping anonymously cell phone data that shows where people are coming from, how long they're staying on the mall.
Britt Deal is the Senior Manager of Public Policy for the Downtown Denver Partnership, the Chamber of Commerce for downtown businesses.
I do want to just put an exclamation point on the fact that it is anonymous, but we are able to see zip codes and a variety of demographic information that frankly helps us to make a better downtown experience for all who enjoy it.
By tracking cell phones, they were able to create this, a graph showing who's going downtown during the pandemic.
We have less employees, although they are starting to come back slowly but surely.
In the before times, about 250,000 people moved around downtown on a given day. More than 100,000 of them were at work. But as soon as stay-at-home hit last March, the number of people working downtown has decreased by about 75%. And according to the graph of unsuspecting cell phones, it hasn't recovered much.
The difference now is that many of those people are visitors.
Now, since the vaccine became widely available, that blue visitor line keeps rising. And every time the Rockies play, it spikes. So way to go, visitors. You're helping get downtown back to normal. So in order for a visit to count, your phone has got to be downtown for more than 7 minutes. And don't worry, they only count it once a day. The average people visiting downtown, what's up, dude? The average people visiting downtown in the month of May this year, 145,000 people a day. Back in May of last year, heat of the pandemic, Kyle, it was 60,000 per day.
So you count as one visitor. The dude who waved to everybody counts as another visitor. Look at us just racking up the hits together. So, Steve, we were talking about this today. A few months back, like in May, Downtown Denver Partnership and the city were leaning on businesses, trying to get them to publicly commit that they would bring their workforce back. I mean, telling people like, hey, the visitors are here. Why don't you sign a pledge saying you're bringing your people back?
Yeah, it's called Denver's Ready. They say they have 150 businesses committed, but it really was saying, hey, there are people here, and this data is proof that there are people here. As strange as it is, the way that they collect it, it shows, and it could tell when people are coming from 10 miles or more beyond the city, they consider that to be a visitor into downtown Denver.
I was trying to count all of the visitors behind you, and then I realized, oh, the city's counting them for us. All right, Suburban Steve, as he likes to call himself, one of downtown Denver's visitors today. Thank you. A quick word of thanks from me to you for the support that you provided the Arvada community since last week with your donations to the Help Arvada Heal Fund. It was set up by Community First Foundation just for you guys, knowing your week after week generosity through word of thanks. The $31,000 you raised as a next community is going to be split 2 ways without any overhead or fees. To the Colorado Organization for Victim Assistance, which is covering the unmet financial needs of all of the victims' families and survivors, including the family of Good Samaritan Johnny Hurley, if they're interested. And then the other half to the Colorado Fallen Hero Foundation, which is supporting the family of Officer Gordon Beasley. Thank you once again for stepping up in a difficult moment to support both. When Next returns, a thought about how the shooting a week ago today in Arvada defies the stereotypes that we tend to apply in these situations. George Floyd's name is the one we know. The other 120 people who died like he did, they're the lesser-known casualties of a restraint technique that law enforcement's own say is unnecessary and dangerous. Wildfire's effects linger for years, not only in burnt landscapes, but in the land that is ready to move with a surprisingly little amount of rain. We're seeing it now. The preliminary details about the Old Town shooting and the people involved are a real warning about the simple, sometimes stereotypical assumptions we can make in these situations. As law enforcement's been scrutinized in recent years, there's been a suggestion that the people who are vocally critical of police are somehow a danger to police. Johnny Hurley, the Good Samaritan who rushed to help after Officer Gordon Beasley was shot in Arvada, Hurley was a vocal critic of law enforcement himself. His final social media post the morning before the shooting was a criticism of law enforcement. Yet Hurley leapt into action after the killing of an officer, and police say that he prevented more deaths that day, likely the deaths of other officers. And then Hurley was shot and killed by an officer who apparently mistook him for a threat. Everything we know about Johnny Hurley's beliefs, a mixture of anarchism and libertarianism, they defy the simple stereotype of the good guy with a gun being an ardent ally of law enforcement as well. Hurley's friends say that his beliefs were the driving force in his life. His actions on that day were simply heroic. Simplifying things beyond that does a disservice to him and to our understanding of what happened.
After 4 days of cloud cover and rain, a little sunshine this evening. Still tracking the chance for rain tonight after a day with temperatures well below the average of 87. We've got moisture coming in from the south and also a trough of low pressure across eastern Colorado. So the radar is a bit active tonight. There's still a chance of rain as these storms drop from north to south, and then the moisture returns, covering much of western Colorado tomorrow, which is great news in some of those fire zones. Isolated showers then clearing, our low 55. Tomorrow partly sunny and warmer with an afternoon shower. Our high 76. Heading into the first few days of July, temperatures warm into the 80s with lots of sunshine, but we've got another day or two of thunder showers on Wednesday and Thursday.
May I make a recommendation? Point you toward something I think is really worth your time. So George Floyd is the name that we've come to associate with police brutality, and some may even know the name of the technique, prone restraint, that figured in what was eventually his murder. Our Chris Vanderveen found at least 120 other people around America who have died as a result of prone restraint. And law enforcement experts, folks within their industry, have been warning for decades that prone restraint is dangerous and it's unnecessary. Prone is Chris Vanderveen's 24-minute documentary on this topic. Posted a link to it on the next Facebook page. It takes surprisingly little rain to turn a burned-over area into a mudslide like the one that washed down over I-70. And you wanted a better answer than the one we gave you as to why Colorado sees more lightning deaths than other states. Fair enough. We've done some more research. We'll have it for you next. I think that dude just walked into the pond. I wish we'd pan the camera over so we could see the resolution. Hope he's all right. CDOT is thinking it can get westbound I-70 through Glenwood Canyon opened up tonight. It's still closed for cleanup after 2 mudslides buried the interstate over the weekend. First one was Saturday afternoon, and then again on Sunday. Another slide, same area. The debris flow from the second slide was 80 feet wide and 5 feet deep in places. It shut the entire interstate through there for more than a day. They were able to open up the eastbound lanes this afternoon. This is the same area where the Grizzly Creek fire burned last year. The fires made the side of the canyon more vulnerable to rockfalls and mudslides. We are curious how much rain is needed to cause a mudslide there right now. The National Weather Service tells us that obviously every burn scar is different, but typically the risk of a debris flow or a flash flood depends on 2 things: slope of the terrain and the soil burn severity. Grizzly burn scar is obviously on very steep land on the edge of the canyon, and more than half of it burned at what they consider to be moderate or high severity. So suffice to say that area is primed to flood or run without very much rain. National Weather Service says ½ inch of rain in less than an hour is usually real trouble for a burn scar. They estimate just under half an inch fell on the grizzly burn scar in 15 minutes on Saturday. Then they got a bit more than that in a half hour on Sunday. National Weather Service tells us it's especially concerning that there were 2 major slides in that same spot on back-to-back days. They said that's suggestive that there's still a lot of material up there in the canyon that could come down on I-70. So we talked here last week about Colorado's longtime status as one of the most dangerous places in America for lightning deaths. You told us in feedback that you wanted a better answer as to why that is the case. So meteorologist Chris Bianchi is back with that.
So we mentioned this last week. Colorado typically has one of the higher lightning fatality rates of any state in the country. We rank, unfortunately, 7th in terms of total deaths over the last 10 years, despite the fact that we only rank 19th in terms of total lightning strikes over that same time period. So what's behind this gap? Let's take a quick look here, and there's going to be some conjecture, a little guessing, frankly, here, but take a look at that national lightning fatality rate and how people typically die by lightning. It's usually by leisure, but not by an overwhelming margin. Daily routine, work unknown, other causes come into play. Now, the state of Colorado, watch what happens. That number, that leisure number, jumps up to 71%. And so most likely, what's behind Colorado's high lightning fatality rate? We're outside more.
Chris says in Colorado, it's usually the smaller storms with lower lightning rates that are often the deadliest. That stopped me in my tracks because, I mean, just think about it from a human nature standpoint. We're more likely to chance it and stay outside if the storm doesn't seem severe or if we don't see a lot of lightning. One final caveat when we talk about the why behind lightning deaths. Chris was saying that it's a small sample size, statistically speaking, so it's really hard to draw firm conclusions about the why. The most Colorado thing we saw today is the kind of race that even I might be able to compete in. It's downhill, and you get help. That and your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a guy hauling ass in a half marathon. In fairness to the donkey, though, it did seem to be keeping up with his pace pretty well in the Slacker half marathon in Georgetown over the weekend. That race from Loveland ski area down to town bills itself as the highest downhill half marathon in the country. Curious how many of those there are. Colorado State Patrol was there, but rather than pulling this guy over for hauling the donkey, they took the photo, sent it our way. Send us opportunities to nod on air at mild profanity by emailing next@9news.com or get our attention on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext. Great question from Josh about Steve Stager's story about tracking visitors and downtown employees. Josh says, any insight into whether there is overlap between the residents and employees' data? As in, how do they count someone who lives and works in town? Josh says that seems like an important profile to account for in city planning. That's a really good question. So I think the delineation that they make, Josh, is between visitors who trace back to a zip code outside of the city and then employees who presumably are there for a large part of the day. And Steve noted that Placer, the company that interprets that data, claims on its website that they've got expertise in cleaning up those data sets for the businesses and municipalities they provide this info to. And Ann says, thanks for keeping your word and following up with the why on lightning deaths. Thank you for holding us accountable. See you next time.